Hello, Jordan Chariton live. Status Coup. It is 5 days before the election here in the United Corporations of America. I took a day or two off because I am burnt out and haven't had a day off really since August, beginning of August, when my book came out. So just kind of cleared my head. Got some nature the last few days and tried not to look at my phone. But I hope everyone is doing okay in these trying times and staying sane uh, as you are inundated by all things presidential election. There's a lot going on. I want to take your calls too, if I can. So we're going to try and do this rapid fire, get through a couple topics and take your calls. Please smash the like button, share this live stream so we can get it out to as many people as possible. And if you want to call in, that would be great. We recently did, if you have been paying attention, a 10-day, 3-state swing state reporting trip. Went through Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin. We still have content from that trip to put out, but we have been posting the clips rapid fire. And it's always very interesting, Colin. You know, you can't win these days because if we put out too much content that is people shitting on the Democrats and Kamala Harris, they say we're trying to elect Donald Trump and we're Trumpers. If you put out any content that's critical of Trump and Republicans, everyone's a snowflake and unsub, and they say that we're basically mainstream media. So essentially, people just want, it seems, to have their pre-existing thoughts validated 24/7. And if anything runs astray from their pre-existing thoughts and comforts, they want to take their ball and go home.
Well, and it's very interesting because it makes me question like what content of ours they watched where they didn't get the vibe that we weren't for either candidate. Like you don't have to, because most people when they find out you're against both candidates, they're less angry at you than just being against their preferred candidate. So
Right.
It's a very interesting response from from some of them. Yeah.
And you know, I was having to respond to comments the other day. Oh, these triggered people that I was helping Trump by interviewing people that were just anti-Democratic Party. It's like I don't pre-interview people. You know, like CNN and these major outlets, they do pre-interviews so they know exactly what the guest thinks and is going to say on TV. It's all scripted, basically. I've never done a pre-interview ever. I don't like that. I like it to be off the cuff, authentic. So when I'm going in, I might have assumptions that somebody is going to be, you know, for the Democrats or for the Republicans. But I was surprised several times on the road when I thought, this trip in particular, when I thought I was going in to interview folks that would be for Kamala, they were pretty frustrated with the Democrats and Kamala and considering voting for Trump. So it's very, very, very interesting, the tribalism on YouTube. And I posted a video this morning just going through the latest insanity and lies from Trump. I don't really go through all his lies 24/7 because there's plenty of channels that exist for that, namely MSNBC, and they're deranged and focus on Trump 24/7. But I thought it's 5 days before the election and he's already priming the pump for Stop the Steal 2.0. And I thought I would be kind of derelict in my duties if I did not cover that because he's already starting up again with this, oh, there's fraud in Pennsylvania and yada, yada, yada. It's all nonsense and lies and bullshit. And oh my Lord, I was seeing people in the comments, unsubscribe. And I responded, bye-bye. Seriously, I just can't take this. These snowflakes on both sides, you know, liberals who, if you're not sucking the Democratic Party off 24/7, I can't watch you. You're a fascist. You're propping up Trump. And Republicans who, if you're not, you know, part of their cult and hailing to the king Trump 24/7, you're MSM. Goodbye to all of you. If you want real, authentic truth, I am here to tell you there is no real color in this country. There's no team red, team blue. The only color that matters is green because we live in a corporate cesspool of a country and our government has been purchased, i.e. the United Corporations of America. I digress. We'll get to like the state of the election, but I want to start because, boy, between Biden going out and calling, Trump people garbage, which he cleaned up and said, well, I didn't mean all Trump supporters. I meant just one Trump supporter. He was talking about that horrible comedian who basically called Puerto Rico an island of garbage. The Democratic Party and I guess Harris's campaign thought it would be a good idea to send Bill Clinton to Michigan, where, the polls kind of iffy. Could go either way in Michigan. My gut is it's a coin toss in Michigan. I would not be shocked if Trump wins Michigan, specifically because of the Arab American issue. But they thought it would be a good idea for Bill Clinton to go to Michigan and lecture Arab Americans, like pretend he sympathizes with them, but then to lecture them that Israel's ongoing genocide is warranted because what if people killed your family? Wouldn't you want to kill as many of them as possible? I mean, this clip is too cringe to even describe. Let's play Bubba Clinton.
Let me talk about the hardest issue here in Michigan is the Middle East. And I have to be careful what I say because there's only one president at a time and none of us can get ahead of where we're going. But I think we're going to have to essentially start again on the peace process. And I understand why young Palestinian and Arab Americans in Michigan think too many people have died. I get that. But if you lived in one of those kibbutzim in Israel, right next to Gaza, where the people there were the most pro-friendship with Palestine, most pro-two-state solution of any of the Israeli communities, were the ones right next to Gaza. And Hamas butchered them. And so then the people who criticize it are essentially saying, yeah, but look how many people you've killed in Ritalin. So how many is enough for you to kill to punish them for the terrible things they did? That all sounds nice until you realize, what would you do if it was your family and you hadn't done anything but support a homeland for the Palestinians, and one day they come for you and slaughter the people in your village? You would say, well, you'll have to forgive me, I'm not keeping score that way. It isn't how many we've had to kill, because Hamas makes sure that they're shielded by civilians. They'll force you to kill civilians if you want to defend yourself.
Wow. So, what would you do if they came in and attacked your kibbutz? Wouldn't you want to kill I guess it's not triple. I guess it wouldn't be quadruple. I don't know what comes after quadruple, but wouldn't you want to, respond by committing a genocide that we haven't seen possibly ever in this area? I mean, yes, human nature. Yes, I could understand revenge, but revenge would be like, I don't know, an eye for an eye, not like an eye for 100,000 people. I mean, to me, life is life. I mourn the Israelis that died. I know there are some people that believe it was justified. I do not. I don't think killing one sets of innocents, and God knows how many Palestinians have been killed before October 7th by Israel. I don't think it's justified to then let's go kill innocent Israelis. It's just this never-ending. It's this never-ending hamster wheel of violence begets more violence begets more violence. I get, some people say, well, what do you want them to do, Jordan? They tried it the peaceful way. I get the instinct and the desire to want to kill in it, and respond and make them feel the same pain you have felt. But just as a principle, not just with this situation, with any situation, I don't think the response to one set of innocents is let's kill some more innocents. With that said, what he's basically saying, he's basically saying, without saying it, Jewish lives matter more than Palestinian lives. Because what he's saying is it's not justified if Israel murders innocent Palestinians for Palestinians to respond by wanting to kill as many Israelis as possible. But in the other end, he's saying it is justified if innocent Israelis are killed for Israelis mentally to want to exact revenge times 100. That's what it sounds like to me. It sounds like to me he's saying, well, if the precious Israeli lives are slaughtered, what do you expect them to do? They have a right to want to exact revenge and go a little further. This is not exactly the message that I think is going to woo back Arab Americans. And some people might say, Jordan, you've been to Michigan a lot, but this is not the only issue there. There's a lot of different voting groups in Michigan. I believe the Arab Americans, if Kamala Harris loses Michigan, which I think she could lose Michigan, despite a lot of the polls saying otherwise, I think the Arab American vote, and it's not just Muslim Americans in Dearborn. There's a huge population of Lebanese Americans in Michigan, not just in Dearborn, in other parts. And obviously we see what Israel has been doing to Lebanon. So Bill Clinton, showing up and saying, I understand your pain and it's understandable. You think too many people have died. Yeah, just a few too many. I mean, the number, when it's all said and done, we're probably looking closer to 150 to 200,000, not 45,000. There's no way in these situations to know the true death count because so many are trapped under rubble. But it just shows you the Democratic Party ultimately is going to allow as much endless suffering, as much senseless death for Israel to pacify and to satisfy its donors who are wealthy Zionists. That's the truth. But it didn't end there. There's another clip from Bill Clinton here that I want to play. Colin, if you could play that.
Let me talk about the hardest issue here in Michigan is the Middle East. Hamas did not care about a homeland for the Palestinians. They wanted to kill Israelis and make Israel uninhabitable. Well, I got news for them. They were there first. Before their faith existed, they were there. In the time of King David, and the southernmost tribes had Judea and Samaria. So here's what I want to tell you. I'm going to do everything I can to convince people that they cannot murder their way out of this, neither side. You can't kill your way out of this. And they have to make a new beginning. But when I read that people in Michigan are thinking about not voting because they're mad at the Biden administration for honoring its historic obligation to try to keep Israel from being destroyed, I think that's a mistake. Because Donald Trump has shown what he wants. But Kamala Harris has said that she will try to negotiate an end to the violence, an end to the killing, and a new peace process. And that ought to be.
There are so many things wrong there, I don't even know where to start. And smash that like button, share this live stream. We got to get this out to more people. Colin, come on for a second if you can. So, number one, so he says at the end, well, Kamala has said that she's going to try and negotiate. Okay, she said it. I'm going to vote for her. She said she's going to try to negotiate it. Just like at the DNC, remember AOC had said she's working around the clock 24/7 for that ceasefire. Well, that was 3 months ago. So clearly her work is not good. But Bill's telling us she said it. Okay, that's enough. Number two, he's literally like uttering the talking points of like extremist settler Israelis, frankly, hardcore Zionists, like, sorry to say, I love you, Dad. My father, who says God gave us the land, Judea and Samaria. He's literally out there trying to, I don't know, like woo back Arab Americans by telling them that Jews had the land first. I'm not going to go into a 1,000-year argument over whose land it was first. There was the whole Ottoman Empire too, which wasn't good. But I don't know if he's just trying to repel voters or if he's just old and, has been on Epstein's plane one too many times. But that is about the worst thing you could say in to a community that's already might be the crucial reason Kamala Harris loses.
Yeah, at some point it kind of feels intentional, and also the irony of a lot of things he's saying of Hamas wanted to make Israel uninhabitable, which is exactly what's happening right now to Gaza and other places with the bombardment. And then at the end there, he closed with, killing people is never going to get you what it's wrong. While he just had a whole preamble we watched about how killing people is actually okay. If you really like the person that was killed, then you can kill as many people as you want, is literally what he said earlier. So it's this weird cognitive dissonance that's happening within like a 2-minute time span of him talking.
And also, what I don't understand, even if for argument's sake you wanted to say, all right, you're right, the Jews had the land first, which I'm not saying that. Okay, even if it was their land first, that means that in response to killing 1,200, which many of them might have been killed by the IDF on October 7th, the response is, let's nuke hospitals and refugee camps and markets and whole family buildings and just kill as many as we can under the guise of defense. And when he says it's our sacred obligation to protect Israel, listen, I've made no secrets. My father's a hardcore Zionist. My mother's not far behind. My older brother, pretty pro-Zionist. I mean, my wife is Israeli. She was born there. She moved here when she was 1. Some of her family is in Israel. Obviously, I love my wife. I love her family. I'm not against, and I don't think most of you are against the people who live in Israel. And I know family members in Israel that have had attacks on them and rockets at them. So this is not, everybody deserves to live in peace, but you cannot elevate Israel and the Jews, and I am Jewish saying this, and basically denigrate and lower the value of life of the Palestinians. And that's what Bill Clinton is doing. And when he puts out this nonsense, religious fanaticism, and this Christian fundamentalism meets Zionism about, the Jews were there first, and he might as well say God gave us the land. And when he's talking about Judea and Samaria, it's the Jewish religion. That's what the Jewish religion teaches. But the bottom line is, all throughout history, the worst violence and genocides known to man have happened because of religion. This is not a message he should be making anywhere, let alone in Michigan. And it sure seems like the mayor of Dearborn agrees with me, because the mayor of Dearborn did not like Bill Clinton's message here. Let's show that tweet, Colin. This is from the mayor of Dearborn, who has not endorsed. He said, I am not making an endorsement in this campaign, in this election. It's pretty much an endorsement against Harris by not endorsing. He tweeted, Rumor has it the Dems want to send Bill Clinton to Dearborn to rally the Arab vote this weekend. Do us a favor. Stop sending surrogates who have no respect or regard for this community. You're only inflicting more damage. Can you imagine Bill Clinton in Dearborn? Hey, I really like this Turkish coffee here, which I did. We recently reported in Dearborn, and I interviewed people. But, buck up. It could be a lot worse. It's only been 100,000 killed. And, once Kamala's in there, she made a promise she's going to try to make a ceasefire. So, buck up. It's not so bad. Vote for Kamala. And by the way, to be clear, because I think, and this goes along with, I'm not team blue and I'm not team red, I'm team truth. To be clear, don't get it twisted. If you are not voting for Kamala Harris because the genocide is a red line for you, I'm not going to tell you what to do. You vote for whoever you want, and whatever issue is most important to you, that's for you. There's a lot of people who in comments say, Jordan, you need to be stronger and you need to push people to vote for Kamala, or you need to fight against Trump. That's not the job of a journalist. That's not my view of a journalist. My job is not to help or hurt Kamala Harris, and it's not my job to help or hurt Trump or a third party. It's my job to tell you pretty much all of them are corrupt crooks. Pretty much all of them are full of shit. Pretty much all of them are representing rich people and corporations, not you. Most of them are full of shit, and you can't really believe what they're promising you because follow the money, not the bumper stickers. However, with that said, don't be misleaded. If you are not voting for Kamala, if you're voting for Jill Stein, or if you're not voting or you're going to vote uncommitted, don't get it twisted. Trump is not going to be better on this issue. And this is not me telling you what to do, but this is me telling you the truth. Trump is not going to be better on this issue. In fact, it might get worse before it gets better. Now, to an Arab American, they might say, oh, well, I'm not voting for Harris, even if it gets worse under Trump. I respect that, but we should also be honest that it can get worse under Trump. This from the Washington Post headline: Trump signals support in call with Netanyahu. Do what you have to do. Do what you have to do. Trump offers Israel his backing in wars with Hamas and Hezbollah, even as his campaign seeks Arab American votes. Republican presidential nominee Donald Trump expressed support for Israel's offensives against Hamas and Hezbollah in a recent call with the country's prime minister, a position that could complicate his campaign's outreach to Arab Americans claiming he opposes the war. Trump told Netanyahu in one call this month, do what you have to do, according to 6 people familiar with the conversation who spoke on the condition of anonymity. Trump has said publicly that the two have spoken at least twice in October, with one call as recently as October 19th. He didn't tell them what to do militarily, but he expressed that he was impressed by the pagers, referencing Israel's attack in Lebanon that killed several command leaders in Hezbollah. So basically, I mean, it's my job, and people should be honest with you. You do whatever you want. You vote for whoever you want. You don't vote for whoever you don't want to. And I have all the respect in the world for people. It's not for me to tell Arab Americans what to think or how to feel. If they can't bring themselves to vote for Kamala Harris, I think that's completely understandable. If young people can't bring themselves to vote for Kamala Harris because her and Biden have been providing a blank check for this genocide, I think that's completely understandable and respectable. Some might say, well, Jordan, there's other issues. Well, to them, that might be the most important issue. And we need to get out of this voter shaming and trying to guilt people into voting the way we want. That's not how it should work. It's not on each other to convince people. It's on the politicians to convince you to vote for them. And Kamala Harris could have convinced Arab Americans to vote for her by allowing and pushing for an Arab American to speak at the DNC, by pledging to withhold funding for genocide. She did not do those things. So you reap what you sow. But let's also, at the same time that we say these things, let's also at the same time we say, vote your conscience. Let's also tell you the truth. Donald Trump, it's not just that it will be the same. It could get worse. He could provide more money to Israel for offensive weapons. He could say, make Gaza a parking lot. He could, with Jared Kushner and other vultures around him, say, let's try to develop Gaza. Oh, that beachfront property? Oh, we could make a Trump hotel in Gaza. Now, I mean, genocide is genocide, so sure, it could get worse. But bottom line, that doesn't mean Kamala Harris has earned your vote. But I think it's important to be clear. Trump is not your friend. I don't care if he's going around. I don't care if he's saying nice things about the Lebanese community. I don't care if he's saying, peace, no war. He's clearly doesn't give a damn about Palestinians, Arab Americans, and he clearly, follow the money, he's gotten nearly $100 million from Miriam Adelson, the widow of Sheldon Adelson. If you don't know, Sheldon Adelson, for a long time, several decades, was one of the biggest kingmakers to the Republican Party. Big billionaire, owned a lot of casinos and hotels in Vegas and other countries. And Republicans, before Trump, if Republicans wanted to run for president, the first step, along with the Kochs, was to go kiss the ring of Sheldon Adelson and try to get his money. So Trump moved the embassy, the U.S. embassy, from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem because Sheldon Adelson, when he was alive, gave Trump's campaign in 2016 $30 million. Well, now his widow has given him an extra 70, nearly $100 million. You think Trump's going to be kind to the Palestinians? So bottom line, if it's Kamala, you're going to continue to get what you're getting. I don't think she's going to change anything. If it's Trump, I think it could get worse. But either way, you're going to have a whole lot of innocent people murdered. Innocent Palestinians, not to mention potentially wider conflict in Lebanon and beyond. But if Kamala loses because of this issue, we covered over 100 of these protests. We told you this could. We've told you for months this could be the reason she loses. This could be the reason Democrats lose across the ballot. Not just Arab Americans, younger voters. Many younger voters find, for them, this is a red line. For them, last straw. Can't support genocide. A lot of older voters too, independents. So we shall see. We shall see. But memo to Kamala Harris's campaign: maybe keep Bill Clinton in the back. Maybe keep him in the kitchen. Maybe send him off. Go to Epstein's Island. We don't want you in Michigan. All right. Let's move on. If you don't know, we are going to be across the country on election day and night. I will be on the ground in Pennsylvania. I don't know where yet, but somewhere in Pennsylvania I'll be roaming because they are saying Pennsylvania could decide the election, whoever wins or loses. Pennsylvania. So I'll be on the ground in Pennsylvania. Tina Desiree Berg will be on the ground in swing state Nevada. So I'll be on the East Coast. She'll be on the West Coast. And we are going to try a technological feat. We don't have the money of a mainstream television network. But we're going to try and be live across the country. Be live in Pennsylvania and then Tina live in Nevada. So we could be going all night into the wee hours of the morning because who knows? We don't know how this is going to end. We don't know if Pennsylvania might be too close to call. I mean, for all we know, the three swing states in the Midwest are going to be easier to call and faster to call this time, and everyone's going to be waiting on Nevada because Democrats have won Nevada the past couple of elections, but right now, based on early voting, Trump is doing better in Nevada. And Nevada in specific, Nevada was hit the hardest economically by COVID. I mean, the Vegas Strip was basically shut down. And Nevada has higher unemployment than the national average still. So that has helped Trump because a lot of people, obviously, in Nevada, particularly Vegas, are, have turned against Biden and the Democrats. So we're going to be across the country. This is expensive to do. It's expensive to be in Pennsylvania on the ground. Got to pay a cameraman in Pennsylvania. Got to pay a cameraman in Nevada. Got to pay Tina. Got to pay John. Got to pay for Tina and her cameraman's transportation to Nevada, their hotels. We got to pay for two live views to be live across the country. The live view John and I have, and the live view Tina has. If we're broadcasting live all night, I mean, the data alone could be several $100s. So please, please, please support this on the ground reporting. Do you know any other independent outlets that are going on the ground across the country on election day and night? We'll be live during the day and night. So please, please support us. StatusCoup.com/join. We just did a 10-day, 3-state swing state trip, Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Wisconsin. I think we covered more stories on that campaign, on that swing state trip. We covered more ground and more important issues than the corporate media literally covers in a year. We covered water poisoning going on. We covered sacrifice zones where communities are being poisoned by corporate America and helped by the government. We covered economic terrorism happening in all 3 states, i.e. gentrification. We covered poverty. We covered police terrorism. We covered a lot of things, and we haven't even published all the videos. So as all the other channels out there in the internet and our sandbox are doing hot takes, we're actually out there with the people. But it's expensive, and we have to grow much quicker. And I sent out emails a week ago. If we don't considerably grow our paid membership by at least 500 to 1,000 paid members over the next few months, we have to make cuts. We have to make cuts because it's not sustainable anymore. For me to be the main person on the ground, for me to be the only reporter, we need to be able to hire more people. We need to be able to hire another reporter. We need to be able to hire another producer. We need a business person, like an assistant, someone to handle logistics. Colin and I are stretched way the hell too thin. We have been doing this for 6 years, basically just us. Obviously, John, too, on the ground as a cameraman. But we need help. So if you value on-the-ground investigative reporting, please, please support us. StatusCoup.com/join. StatusCoup.com/join. You could sign up as a member for as low as $5 a month. $5 a month. In response to my emails last week, we got about, Colin, what would you say, like 30 to 40 new members?
Yeah, somewhere around there.
Yeah, so we got, give or take, about 30 to 40 new members. That's nice. We need a lot more than that. We need to grow in the hundreds because we can't do the job that normal outlets have 7 to 10 full-time people with just 3 people. This is not possible much longer. So StatusCoup.com/join, sign up as a member, and I'll give you a shout out. It's 16 cents a day equals $5 a month. I know a lot of you have 16 cents a day. Okay. So let's, you know what? I'm going to skip the next thing and just go right to calls so we could take calls before the election. Let me go to the call-in program. Colin could put the number up too. Hold on. I'll probably cover this fire if I have time at the end or tomorrow. Get started. Oh, hold on. What the hell? I got to put in. Why? Oh, info. Host show. Save and start a show. Connect to show. All right. And I got
Real quick, CB just gifted 20 memberships in the YouTube chat.
Holy cow, CB, are you with me? Thank you so. That is a huge help. It honestly, I'm not gonna lie to you. I mean, I'm just gonna be straightforward. I'm not a jealous person, so this isn't jealousy, but it does get frustrating when you see other outlets that don't do what we do. It doesn't mean they don't do good work, but you see other outlets that mostly are doing kind of commentary that are getting so many signups where we're out on the ground during investigative reporting, interviewing working class people, poor people, and we're just like kind of slowly treading along, maybe a couple members here or there. So it really makes a difference when we get a bulk gift like that of 20 memberships. So thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And please take her lead because you could also gift memberships to other people. So thank you. You could become a member on YouTube. We prefer memberships through our website. That's statuscoup.com/join. You could sign up as a member for as low as $5 a month. 16 cents a day equals $5 a month. But if you want to sign up on YouTube, that's more than okay as well. All right. Screen share. You need this, Colin. And I think you're going to have to change the graphics because the number is too small on the screen. Can I start taking calls?
Oh, yeah. It's all set up.
All right. Yeah, just switch that and make the number bigger because it's too small. All right. Tony D, you're up.
Hello, Jordan.
Hey there.
Thank you for doing this.
Thank you.
So I just voted early about 2 hours ago, and I was outraged because on the ballot, there's Harris and Trump, and then RFK, and 0 third-party options. No Stein, no West.
This was in Illinois?
In Illinois. And I voted in general elections here 3 times before, and every time the Green Party was on the ballot. And I want to know if you know if this is because of some sort of lawsuit from the Democrats keeping the Greens off the ballot, or if they didn't do what they needed to do, get on the ballot. I wonder if you know about that.
That's surprising to me because I don't really think the Democratic Party is fighting to keep them off the ballot in safe blue states like Illinois.
Yeah.
So that I would ask your election clerk about that. Let me see real quick. Which states is Jill Stein? I thought she was on the ballot in Illinois. So that is very, very surprising to me.
Yeah.
Illinois. Let's see. Yeah, I can't get it off the top of my head, but that is very surprising to me. That's the first I heard of that. She should be on the ballot in Illinois for sure.
Yeah, I know. I voted for her before here.
Yeah. Oh, Illinois, it says write-in campaign.
That's what I did.
Yeah. So Illinois, Iowa, New York, Vermont, Wyoming, Nevada, and Kansas, the Greens are a write-in campaign, which still seems different if you're saying they've been on the ballot traditionally as an actual choice,
Yeah.
correct?
Yes.
So I'll have to ask somebody I know working for a campaign why that is this year. But yeah, I guess Illinois is a write-in.
Yeah. Do you know what the Greens are on in about 48, 49 states?
They are, it looks like they are on the ballot in they're on the ballot in Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin, Georgia, South Carolina, Georgia, Arizona, North Carolina, Nevada. They are not on the ballot. So the only swing state that they're not on the ballot is Nevada, but they're on the ballot in Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania, Georgia, North Carolina, and Arizona. So honestly, the main states that the Democrats are concerned about with the Greens are Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania. So we'll see. But obviously, what's that?
Do you think if ranked choice voting was in place, they would have a much better outcome?
Oh, yeah. If ranked choice voting exists, I don't know if the Greens would win. I think that's going to take much more than just ranked choice voting. But I do think it could get a candidate like Jill Stein up potentially to 15 to 20%. So, because if people, I think also with ranked choice voting, you'd have to assume that there was wider media coverage of more of the choices. So with ranked choice voting, you also might get more media coverage. So I think it could catapult not just the Greens, other third parties up by 5 to 10 percentage points. But for a third party candidate to actually win, you would need a complete paradigm shift in this country, both with actual fair, almost like the fairness doctrine in the past. We're giving them equal time kind of thing. Because there's just a multi-billion-dollar media machine to either black them out, not cover them, or to completely distort them. So,
Yeah, the media decided the primary 4 years ago.
correct. And to an extent this year too. I don't, not necessarily that Marianne Williamson was going to become the Democratic nominee, but I don't remember her getting a town hall on CNN or MSNBC. I do remember
No.
Chris Christie getting one at 1%. I do remember Vivek Ramaswamy getting a CNN town hall, polling not very well. I do remember Nikki Haley, when she was polling in the shitter, getting a CNN town hall. I don't remember Marianne Williamson getting one. I don't remember Marianne Williamson was getting to go on News Nation and podcasts. I don't remember her getting invited on MSNBC, CNN, and I don't. The media coverage she did get, they dubbed her as a not credible candidate. So, yeah.
Yeah, and I had high hopes for Cornel West in the beginning of the election, but he just really did not take off well, and he didn't get much ballot access at all.
Yeah, listen, I mean, I would tell him this to his face. I think Cornel West, I don't even think he would disagree with it. Some people are just, visionaries and scholars and movement leaders, but not, politicians. I don't think he's, a real great politician. Neither was Bernie, because politicians, you got to be cutthroat. You got to make calculated decisions. You got to play the game a little bit. And that's not Cornel West. So I think Cornel West, maybe in a different time, could have really taken off. But he did not run a good campaign. He definitely had obstacles, namely money. Didn't have any to really run a campaign. But, I don't know the complete backstory of what happened with the Green Party, but obviously he would have had a more effective campaign if he would have remained with the Green Party. So,
yeah. Thank you, Jordan.
Right. Absolutely. Take care. All right. Artificial Morphos, you're up.
Yeah, I'm here.
Hey there.
Yeah, long-time member. I think I started listening to you when you were on 2IT and you were covering Standing Rock. And
thank you.
I liked your on-the-ground reporting. I've liked all of your guys on the ground reporting. That's really valuable to me.
Thank you.
But I just want to I have a couple things here. And one thing, a lot of people are talking about Green Party. They're talking about protest votes or how they're disappointed, with Harris. And I get it. I do. Biden's doing a genocide. It'll go down in history as, history will show. And I'm just thinking about the biggest threat to the country and the planet, and that is Trump, a Trump administration, what he has in place, Project 25, and sure, I get it, protest votes, but that's what primaries are for. And I'm in a blue state, Minnesota, so, I made a protest vote back 2016 because I couldn't vote for Hillary. But it's not just about my ego and how I feel about myself. If a Trump victory, it would affect the Supreme Court. That's for generations to come. It would affect women's and trans rights across the board, state by state. Journalists, he's going to come after the media. Tax cuts for the rich, putting the Adelsons and Musk and Bobby Kennedy in charge of his administration, making decisions, running things. Think what that would do to the climate change, our air and water, infrastructure, and so think about the planet, think about the country instead of just your own personal ego. And that's just my message out to other voters. You can vote how you want. I already voted.
To me,
go ahead.
To me, what this ultimately comes down to is And some might say, Jordan, what you're saying isn't true. Let me first say what I mean. To me, this is really, you're going to die either way, but would you rather be shot in the forehead or slowly be poisoned? And some people say, Jordan, come on. It's not, you're making it seem like they're both almost equal. No, I actually think Trump is worse. I think it would be intellectually dishonest to say he's not worse. I mean, just the climate alone. I mean, both of them are bad for the climate because Democrats are going to the raging climate inferno with a super soaker instead of the fire department. But Trump would, pour gasoline on the fire. So you could say one is worse. The problem, though, is if millions of people around the country, and I've seen it on the road with the things I cover, if they feel like the choice to avoid getting shot in the forehead is to slowly be poisoned, you're going to die eventually. It's just about who do you get the quicker death from. Obviously, I'm not talking literally, but figuratively. And to me, the problem is, how do we get out of that paradigm? How do you get out of this paradigm where we stop the poisoning part? Because I don't want to get shot in the forehead, but I also don't want to be poisoned. So how do we get out of this paradigm? Because I started paying attention really in 2004 when I was in college. And I remember then it was, Kerry's the lesser of two evils. And this is the most important election of our lifetime. And I've heard the same thing every single election. So I think the question is, I do think Trump is worse, but I don't know with a straight face how to tell people, or Arab Americans or young people or whatever, that have just been screwed over and over, not just on the Gaza issue, on, college debt, on they're living with their parents still, on, the theft of their money, the gross income inequality, and the privatization and corporatization of our government. I don't know how to change that paradigm, because at a certain point, you kind of have to stop saying, all right, well, we got to get through this election and then we'll try all those other things.
I get that, and I agree with most of everything you just said. But I think that, like, the first step is getting rid of that main threat. Get Trump out of there, and then we apply pressure.
Let me ask you an honest question. I'm not asking you this to push back. I'm asking, I just genuinely want to know, because I think a lot of people are under the assumption that if you defeat Trump, then the threat is neutralized, or it's much less of a threat. Do you think just getting rid of Trump defeats Trumpism?
I think him going to jail would be a start, and I think that the Republicans would have to change their tune in order to be viable after that loss, because they're putting all their eggs in the basket with Musk and the Adelsons and the billionaire class.
Right.
I think if Harris wins, then we start to go to work and we organize, we utilize. I mean, think about this. Medicare for all wasn't even mentioned in the media before Bernie came on the scene. And so the narrative has changed to a more progressive narrative over the years. And it's going to be gradual. You can't, build Rome in a day. I'm so disappointed with Democrats, like her strategy with the Cheneys and saying, defending Israel no matter what. And I think it's bad strategy, but I think they're thinking, oh, there's more pro-Israel Jews in the Jew vote than there are pro-Palestinians. She's listening to
Yeah, but it's not just the Palestinians. It's not just the Arab Americans she's losing. They have Biden and now her. We're losing a shit ton of young people just on this one issue. So yeah,
I agree. I mean, it was hard for me to hold my nose and vote for administration that's pro-genocide. But history, if when in office, if Harris wins, is she going to separate herself from that and receive the pressure and at least do an arms embargo and take the funding away?
No.
I think there'll be so much pressure that she can't ignore it. And
I think I think on that issue, the only pressure that she's ultimately going to have to decide: am I willing to lose re-election? If she was elected president, or am I willing to lose the donors? I mean, that's the fact of the matter, because the donors.
True.
And
this is corporate.
it's not. I don't think it's anti-Semitic to say it's just the numbers are the numbers. Some of the wealthiest donors that purchased both parties happen to be Zionists, and a lot of them happen to be Jewish. I mean, that's just the truth. So, listen, but this goes along the same lines. This was the argument that was being made, like, let's get rid of Trump and we'll fight Biden on day one and move him left. I mean, to me, I think we need to, and I've been saying this for a while, I think we need to change our thinking a bit, because it really isn't Kamala Harris or Joe Biden you need to move left. It isn't really the politicians. We need, as a people, as a collective, whatever you want to call it, society, we need to start organizing against the people who have purchased the politicians, and that is the corporations. That is why I've been saying we need to start organizing economically. No, we're not going to have a general strike overnight. That's not realistic, but we need to stop. God bless these pro-Palestinian protesters that have been in the streets of New York and DC and everywhere for a year. But at a certain point, you're just marching the same blocks over and over with the same message, but you're not a threat to the corporate class, the capitalist class. But if you start organizing economically, and that,
I agree.
So to me, yeah, you could try and move Kamala left, but if you start hitting Jeff Bezos and the Waltons and big box retailers and corporate banks, and you start affecting their quarterly profits, their stock buybacks, they're going to make a call to their servants, which are the politicians, and say, you need to start making concessions to the peasants over there. So that would be my only.
Well said. I agree with that. And I have two things to say about that is, 3 million protesters on Capitol Hill is one thing. They're going to listen to that and the world will see it. But also, I think when you mentioned general strike, I think we got to look at momentum, where we have power, and that is labor, and that is the working class and unions, and it's spreading like wildfire across the nation. And that's when you can organize. And then Sean Fay, he's brilliant. He said, hey, 2028, he picked the date, general strike, and maybe he's going to run for president. And I think if he did, he would win. But he couldn't do it through the Green Party.
Right.
That's a failed party. He's got to go Democrat and do it like Bernie did, except not drop out early like Bernie did twice.
Right.
God, I was so pissed.
Yeah. Hey, I hear you. I think you make fair points. I mean, I don't begrudge. I think that's a very fair point. I'm not one of these people who are going to try to vote or shame anyone on either side. But I
don't want to vote shame. I have people that just don't even vote, and I'm just thinking to myself, Trump presidency again would be more organized. J.D. Vance, oh my God, it would be the worst, because Trump probably, his heart will give out in the first year, something.
Right.
Anyway, keep up the good work, Jordan. I'll watch your channel more often. I've been busy, but good stuff, man.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. I really appreciate it. All right, Charles, you're up.
Can you hear me?
I can.
Oh, great. Okay. Yeah, I had some thoughts about the election, too, based on your other callers. But I was originally calling because I really like, well, I can't say I like because it's disturbing. You're reporting that, was it Dominic, PA, about the fracking? I thought that was very interesting and upsetting. I live in Pennsylvania, by the way.
I'd love to take credit, but that was Jason Peters, who was on the ground.
I know. I watched it, but basically it ruined the state, and not where I live, because I live right near Philadelphia, but like, for example, I used to go to Powder County when I was a kid, like in the 1970s. It's probably ruined now with all the fracking. I don't understand how it's legal, and also I voted for Jill Stein, and I did, regarding Trump, I do respect Paul Jay. He did a good piece on basically explaining why Trump would be really bad. And then one last comment was, Richard Wolff said something interesting today. Basically, he said like, how do you know how Trump always attacks like China? Like, well, we gotta I gotta protect you by going after China. Or I gotta protect you by going after the illegal immigrants.
Yeah.
Richard Wolff said basically we should go after the billionaires. Basically eliminate the billionaires. Basically anything over $10 million is gone. And then plus if you did that, then they wouldn't be able to have enough money to influence the politicians, which is the crux of the issue anyway. So I thought that was interesting. So basically make it so billionaires can't exist. They basically have a tariff basically instead of like a minimum wage, be like a maximum wage, and then plus you can redistribute that wealth.
Now, if we could only get take the billionaires' control away from the government, we could do it.
Exactly. Yeah, it's like a catch-22. But once you take the billionaires away, then they can't buy the politicians. That's the whole problem. Because the more wealth you have, the more power you have. The more power you have, the more. If you see, it's like a snowball. But then if you basically cut them back down to size, then they can't do that because they don't have them. They won't be able to afford to buy off and then there won't be any more corrupt politicians because they won't have anybody to corrupt them. And that solves all the issues. I mean, that's the crux of everything that you talk about, or today at least, regarding the election. Yeah, that's basically the crux of everything. I mean, when you think about it, that's what caused everything that's wrong is all based on the corruption, and the corruption is based on the people that, cause like you said, the government, like either party, they have the same donors, and they don't represent us. They represent the 0.001% and the big corporations.
That's why I think it's I bought into it a little bit in 2020 that if you just get rid of Trump, day one we'll fight like hell and move Biden to the left. And frankly, that was naive. I mean, you got to look at people's records and who gives them money. And you were never going to move a dinosaur to the left. I mean, people who argued that way would argue, well, we did move him to the left slightly. No, not really. Not in any structural way that actually changed anything significant. So,
and Bernie didn't drop out in 2016. They rigged the primary against him, so you can't run as a Democrat. So they're going to rig you're not to criticize anybody else, but you can't run as a Democrat because they'll just rig the primary against you. So,
right.
So you can't run as a Democrat.
So at the end of the day, I think we're just it's the same exact old record spinning over and over, which is lesser of two evils. Just forget your principles this time. Let's avoid the bad man or woman this time, and we'll come together and fight corruption on both sides. Once we neutralize the threat. But you're always going to have the threat. You're always going to have the threat. Maybe next time it won't be Trump. It'll be Vance, or it'll be Tom Cotton, or a less, ghoulish cartoon character threat. But policy-wise, just as threatening. So at a certain point, I think we need to shift our thinking away from, let's move the Democrats left. No, let's go after who's really controlling things, which is corporate America. And we need to stop normalizing the corruption of our government. And that's why I actually think that independent candidate in Nebraska, his first name's escaping me, Osborne. Yeah. I think his message has been resonating because he's calling out both parties for corruption.
Exactly. That's why I voted for Jill Stein. Yeah.
Yeah. And why he's gotten media coverage, whereas Jill Stein and others have been buried. Largely a similar message, but he's calling out the corruption and people like it. I don't know if he'll win, but he's probably going to come a lot closer than any independent candidate ever has in a state like Nebraska, with real economic populism, not the fake Trump version.
But Bernie's an independent, but he caucuses with the Democrats. So basically, he's basically a closeted Democrat. I mean, what's the point? Hopefully, if this guy wins, he won't caucus with the Democrats or Republicans because that defeats the purpose.
Correct. Yep. So we'll see. All I know is I want this election to end. I don't think it will be over on election night. I think Trump's already priming the pump with more of this stop the steal nonsense. I have a feeling the 3 months. Yeah, the 3 months of chaos we saw last time. I think we could see more of that this time, only worse.
Well, that's why, like in PA, they have early voting, but they won't start counting the votes until election day, so they have time to say, "Hey, something fishy's going on here. How come we don't got your vote count?" You see what I'm saying? like that's one of the reasons why that's how they're rigging it by like why wouldn't you count the vote when you get it? I mean, I think they do that on purpose.
Yep, I agree. So
Because I already voted.
Yep, there you go. So we'll see what happens, but I'll be on the ground, so I'll be able to tell you in Pennsylvania what's actually fishy and what's just more Republican hysteria and hot air
Yeah,
balloons.
I think it's too close to call. I see equal as far as signs on the lawns. I mean, before like in 2016, you never saw any Hillary signs, and then like in 2020, it was kind of mixed.
I got to tell you, ironically, Pennsylvania might come down to the fact that Trump held a pretty gross, hateful rally at MSG, and some comedian basically called Puerto Rico a garbage island, because Pennsylvania surprisingly has, I think, almost 500,000 Puerto Ricans. And that Kamala Harris's campaign has been running that ad nonstop of that comedian at Trump's rally shitting on Puerto Rico. And that could make a difference if it's a close election by a couple thousand votes. And that's why Trump.
But Joe Biden offset that the other day by calling Trump supporters. So it's kind of a wash at this point because Joe Biden's comment kind of offset.
But I don't think that all these elections are very micro targeted in these specific battleground states. So calling Trump people garbage, while I don't agree with that, Kamala wasn't going to get those votes anyway. The Puerto Rican community, there's enough of the vote that either wasn't going to vote for Democrats or might vote for Trump or, might just not vote, that them seeing, what seems like them being degraded and denigrated could make a difference. We'll see.
Well, that's why I like Bernie. He just talked about the issues. He didn't talk about he said this and she said that. He just talked about the issues. I mean, that's what made him.
Right.
That's like he's more of a genuine type of. I mean, it's a shame he folded like a cheap the table or pen or whatever. But basically, yeah. I mean, he's at least genuine or was.
Yeah, I agree. All right, I got to go to the next person. Thank you.
Sure. Thank you.
All right. David, you're up. You there, David? All right. I don't see you. I'll go to the next person. Angel, you're up. You there, Angel? Angel Stansberry? Going once, twice.
Can you hear me, Jordan?
Yeah.
Okay. I think you disconnected yourself instead of hanging up the person.
Oh, how do I get back on?
Just if you go to that window, there's a button that says,
start over.
I don't know if it's. You should be able to join. I'm in the room still. It just says waiting for host to connect.
Hold on. Return to queue.
Possibly.
Hold on.
Try clicking that. I'll let you know.
You there, David? No, I think
Yeah, I don't see you in the room yet.
All right, hold on.
Ready to connect. Click connect to show now. You are connected as the host. Welcome, host. You are now in the host room and can manage your callers from the call-in studio web interface.
All right. I think I'm back in. Hello?
Hello.
Hey there.
Hey, Jordan. I just wanted to thank you for everything you do, shining a light on all the injustice, environmental injustice that happens in this country every day. I purchased We the Poison on Audible. It's a fantastic piece of journalism, so I commend you for doing that.
Thank you very much.
I voted for Joe Stein. Early voting here in Tennessee. I know Tennessee is going to go for Trump no matter how we vote. It's going to be a long time before that changes. It's just going to go red for about the next decade. But I really wanted to comment on dragging old Bill Clinton out there. I don't know why we would roll him out. It's almost like a time warp or an alternate dimension to see Kamala Harris campaigning with the Cheneys, and Bill Clinton comes out there and espouses this age-old lie that his wife also espouses about somehow there's some Israelis that want to give Palestinians a free state. Even Yitzhak Rabin always said that they would never have a completely free state. They conceded in 1967 and got whittled down to 22% of their land. They're fighting for survival, and you have people on their land fighting for supremacy. And this is what it's all about. It's not about religion. It's about white supremacy. The few Mizrahi Jews, indigenous Jews that live there are genetically identical to the Palestinians. So if they died and they did a genetic test, they would not be able to even tell them apart. But those Jews have been completely socially and politically disenfranchised and economically disenfranchised in favor of these people who came in basically, on the coattails of Lord Balfour, who was, a notorious anti-Semite and just wanted to get rid of the Jews in Europe. So this is not about religion. I hate that they like to conflate Zionism, which is a evil cult that has only been around 150 years, with Judaism, which is a religion of peace and love. And, I voted for Jill Stein, and I just wanted to make the point that with Jill Stein, it's not just a protest vote. If she gets at least 5% of the national vote, she'll be eligible for a lot of federal matching contributions. Then we can maybe build up a third party, and maybe, with that hope that she brings by bringing more than 5%, which I think is I feel like that's a hopeful goal, but I think we can at least make that, especially considering what's going on in Michigan. People don't talk a lot about the 150,000 Muslims who live in Pennsylvania. I think they're going to be very important, as well as the Amish community, who almost never vote, but they're coming out to vote for Trump. This is a very interesting election, Jordan. What are your thoughts?
I got to tell you, I don't know. I don't know who's going to win. I really don't. When I was on the ground in Michigan, I had a feeling that the polls were off and that it was leaning closer to Trump. But when I was on the ground in Wisconsin, I had the feeling it was leaning towards Harris. And Pennsylvania, it could go either way, but my gut is it'll go to Harris. So I think Wisconsin and Pennsylvania are probably going to go to Harris. Michigan, which I know better than most other states because I've been there so much. When I was in Detroit, I mean, for a Democrat to win in Michigan, you got to do very, very well in Detroit, particularly among Black voters. And there's just a lot of apathy, not just over the Arab American issue, just in general. People are fed up with gentrification and prices and corruption, and they're fed up with Democrats and the inaction. And I think you could see depressed turnout, particularly among Black voters in Detroit. I feel like people focus on the Arab and Muslim vote, but I'm from the Caribbean, and I feel like anybody with roots, my ancestors were sugarcane laborers. They were brought from southern India to Trinidad in 1845 to replace the slaves that were there before. And anybody who comes from that kind of past recognizes neo-colonization when it happens. And most of the world is getting the real news. And their newscasters are not stenographers of the State Department like our mainstream media have become. We have come to depend on people like you, Jordan, to give us the real news, because we cannot trust the media when it's just a branch of our government. We really should, Jose Vega, if you know who that is, who's running for in New York, he said it best. We, the people, are the fourth branch of government.
When he said that at his speech, it really resonated with me because the government can only exist for and by the people, and we really need to stand up. I consider myself a Marxist revolutionary. I know, I would be shot on sight. It's a four-letter word in this country, but there are many who think like me, and I'm my ancestor, Claudia Cumberbatch Jones, and Stokely Carmichael. They were both from Trinidad. I stand in their shadow. I carry their torch, and it's for the liberation of all people. If Palestinians were doing this slaughter of Jewish people, I would be just as angry. This is about humanity. This is not about anything else but humanity. So, I hope cooler minds prevail. I hope we don't all die in a nuclear holocaust. But keep up the good work, Jordan.
Thank you. Beautiful words. And thank you to everyone else. I'll do another call in before the election. I got to go watch my daughter, so I got to end it now. But maybe we'll do another one tomorrow, or I might go live over the weekend, special weekend show for the election. So thank you to everyone who called in. Let me read super chats here. Thanks once again to CB, donated 20 gift memberships. Thank you so much. That is amazing. So if you're in the chat, it's random. So you might see that you were gifted a Status Coup YouTube membership. Thank you. Thank you to Schultze, $5. Please support the channel. Thank you. Robert Pook Ray, $10 super chat. Do you think the international community saying they will prosecute corporate media companies for enabling genocide is causing U.S. media current trend of criticism? CIA losing the narrative to bigger fish? I think there's a better chance of me growing a six-pack by the election, or even by next year, than the U.S. media being sued and convicted for enabling genocide. But it's a nice thing to hear. I do like that. Artificial Morphicin, $10. If Sean Fain runs in 2028, I think he'll win. Labor is where our power is. He is a great organizer. I am a fan of Sean Fain, even though he's blown me off for an interview for the last 6 months. I still love the man. But if you're listening, Sean, cut the shit. I was on the ground covering the UAW strikes. We were on the ground covering the UAW strikes for the first 3 weeks, way more than any other outlet. Don't forget the small people. So hopefully you could do an interview with me before the general strike in 2028. All right. Thank you for watching. Reminder, I will be on the ground in Pennsylvania on election night. Tina will be on the ground in Nevada election night. We'll both be live. So we'll be across the country, coast to coast, east to west coast. Please support this on-the-ground reporting. It's expensive, and it's not easy to do. Got to pay Tina, got to pay her cameraman, got to pay John, got to pay for hotels, transportation, and live streaming. The live streaming unit costs money too. So please support us. StatusCoup.com/join. Unless you know other independent outlets doing this kind of on the